I mean, what are we doing with this trade here, folks? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Sea Radio. My name is Corbin, and in today's video, we're going to be going over a proposed trade that would technically help the Boston Red Sox, but if you dive in a little bit deeper, is absolutely absurd. We're going to be talking about why this doesn't make sense for the Red Sox and what this could mean for the Red Sox offseason. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Okay, so the trade proposal we are talking about today didn't come from just some random fan account looking for the Red Sox to make a big move, or one of my videos, right, where we utilize baseball trade values and try and pick apart what each team needs. No, instead, this was legitimately on MLB Network and proposed by MLB analyst Anthony Castro-Vince, and Anthony has the Red Sox acquiring Garrett Crochet. Okay, not a bad start here if we're being honest. We've talked a ton about Crochet trade to Boston. It feels like something the Red Sox should be very interested in, right? We know he would make a lot of sense for what the Red Sox are trying to do. That's not the part of this trade that I think is absolutely absurd. What I do think is absolutely absurd is the package Anthony put together to get Crochet in a Red Sox uniform, because he is sending over Tristan Casas, Brady Montgomery, Yoelis Cespedes, and David Sandlin. Now, if we're technically looking at this trade put forth just strictly based on value on paper, this actually probably isn't too far off from what the Chicago White Sox are actually going to get for Garrett Crochet. If we put these people into baseball trade values, again, baseball trade values is certainly far from a perfect science, but it is a fairly good starting point when we're looking at the total value of a trade. The Red Sox are overpaying a little bit, right? In fact, they're overpaying quite a bit here for Garrett Crochet, but that's most likely what's going to end up getting it done. We know Garrett Crochet, it has the potential to be a legitimate top of the rotation Cy Young caliber type pitcher. We understand that there isn't a ton of those pitchers available on the open market right now, and we understand that specifically when it comes to the trade market, he's one of, if not the only available player on the open market right now. It's going to take something really significant for the Red Sox to get him in a Red Sox uniform, and that's most likely going to require them to overpay. So when we're looking at this trade on paper, just strictly value-wise, I actually don't think it's too far off from what it's going to take for the Red Sox to get him here. My problem with this trade is the actual people included in this, because if you break it down beyond just strictly value on the market, this trade doesn't make a whole lot of sense for Boston, and it starts with Tristan Casas. Now, there's been a whole lot of debate as to whether or not Tristan Casas should be traded. We've talked about it, 150 times on this channel already. You guys know where I stand in terms of whether or not it makes sense to trade Casas, but specifically in this trade scenario, I don't like it a whole lot for a couple of different reasons. One, you're probably going to be trading pretty low on him compared to what his potential could be, mostly because coming out of last season, he only played 63 games, right? This is the second season in a row we've seen injury concerns pop up for Tristan. This one kept him out for 100 plus games this year. We know that Tristan did not fulfill his potential coming into his sophomore year season. Why would the Red Sox trade low on a guy who could potentially be one of your most valuable trade pieces, right? If you're looking to trade Tristan, why wouldn't you at least give him one more year to prove that he can be healthy enough to give you 140 plus games at the major league level? Because if you can do that, there's no doubt in my mind Tristan Casas becomes one of your most valuable trade pieces. So even if you're looking to trade Casas, this doesn't make sense in terms of the point in which you would trade him. And on top of that, it doesn't really make sense to trade Tristan Casas in general, because you're just creating another problem this team is going to have to solve before opening day 2025, right? If you trade someone of equal value in an outfield or middle infield position, which there are a couple of options of equal value on this Red Sox team currently, you are able to fill those holes much easier than you are able to fill a hole at first base. The Red Sox don't have any depth there compared to almost too much depth in those other two positions. So why would they focus on trading that one guy, which creates another problem when you can focus on trading 3 or 4 different players and still have the ability to solve what that hole would look like at the major league level. So right off the bat, just looking at Tristan Casas in general, I just don't think this is the right time to move him, especially if you're going to make him the headline of a deal, because he's just not as valuable as he could be. But it keeps going from there, because then the next most valuable player in this trade would be Braden Montgomery. And again, would on paper make some sense. The Red Sox are probably going to need to give up some significant prospect potential here to get Garrett Crochet done. But with Brady Montgomery, again, is it the right time to move him for this Red Sox team? I don't know, mostly because we've never seen him play, right? This is a guy who was drafted injured, so the Red Sox could potentially be selling low on him as well. Plus, not only could they potentially be selling low on Braden Montgomery, but Braden Montgomery was also Craig Breslow's very first-round draft pick. Now, some guys, especially at the front of these organizations, take that into consideration a little bit. They want their players that they drafted to be the successful ones, and trading away your very first one could have some complications to it. Now, I don't know if Breslow's one of those guys, but it's definitely something to consider as well. But even if we take that equation out of it, why would the Red Sox trade someone that they've never seen play before? I understand that it's kind of a risk, because he could get into professional baseball and absolutely suck and never be able to really hit the ground running, right, and end up as a total bust. That's actually a very real possibility, but there's also the possibility that going into next year, especially after guys like Meyer, Anthony, Teal, and Campbell have been graduated from this Red Sox system, that Brady Montgomery becomes the face of it. He has way too much potential, in my opinion, right now to kind of waste him as a supplementary piece in a trade. Again, you go back to the Tristan Casas argument, wouldn't it make more sense to let his value increase to the point where he can headline a trade as opposed to supplement it? That's just my opinion, but it would make a whole lot more sense for this Red Sox team, and it keeps going. This theme of selling low in this trade keeps going, because Yoelis Cespedes had an absolutely fantastic season this year. Unfortunately, though, it ended pretty quickly. He only got about 26 games under his belt before he needed season-ending surgery. In fact, he probably would have finished this year in the top 100 for prospects in Major League Baseball. That's how good he was to begin this season. So again, you're trading low on a guy who's got a ton of potential simply because he was injured in 2024. Now, of the three of these names, I will say Yoelis Cespedes, in my opinion, is probably the most realistically movable, especially with the emergence of Franklin Arias, who now has a very similar offensive ceiling to Yoelis Cespedes. Those two guys are going to be coming up pretty much in tandem as the Red Sox move forward throughout the next couple of years. And so they do become pretty easily movable, because you have someone else in this organization that is able to do essentially the same thing that one of these two guys is going to do. So I really don't have a huge problem with Yoelis Cespedes being mentioned in this trade, but I will say again, when we're talking about the potential value of this deal in a year or two, Yoelis Cespedes could become one of the main pieces in a trade, as opposed to sort of the third piece in one singular trade. I know this sounds kind of ridiculous, just talking about if Garrett Crochet is the person that they want, why would they sit here and wait and hope that these guys end up as headline pieces when they could just get the guy they want right now for all of these pieces? My point in this is just simply, you can get this deal done without having to go through and sell low on three different players who have the potential to be much, much better. Now, if you were to sell low on one or two of these guys, maybe, right? Because then you can add in some more players that you're sure of their actual value. You can add in a Mydroth, a Hamilton, Teal even, if you really want to get super crazy, or maybe even a Marcelo Meyer if you want to get absolutely ridiculous with this deal. But at least you have a better understanding of what those guys could potentially look like over the next couple of years than having three serious question marks in this deal. This could end up being a fantastic deal for the Red Sox, or this could end up being a really, really terrible deal, and there's really no in between with this trade. Not to mention David Sandlin's in this deal as well, who, by the way, is one of the bright stars in an area where the Red Sox really, really have struggled in over the last few years. To me, I really have a hard time seeing Craig Breslow sit there and trade away from some of the pitchers that have started to really develop in the Red Sox system because of the fact that this is exactly what he was brought in to do, right? He was brought in to make the major league team competitive and to revamp the pitching throughout the organization as a whole. David Sandlin was a big part of that in 2024 with their minor league system. And I know it sounds ridiculous, Corbin, we need to trade somebody to get Garrett Crochet, and I absolutely agree. It's going to hurt regardless of who gets moved for Garrett Crochet. It is going to hurt because it's going to take an arm and a leg to get this deal done. And if the Red Sox are serious about competing, they're going to try pretty hard to get this deal done. So I am expecting for some legitimate names to be moved. I just don't know if this exact package makes enough sense for the Red Sox to do that. So Corbin, what is it? What could be the exact package? Honestly, right now, I have absolutely no idea. It could go a million different directions with Garrett Crochet because it feels like every other week we are getting an entirely different proposed package for what could get this Garrett Crochet deal done, right? It started this offseason with, hey, Wilyer Abreu could be the headline of this deal, right? He could be the face of it, and you could just attach some supplemental pieces, and the Red Sox could get a deal done here. Then it transformed into, I don't know if you're going to be able to get that deal done without a Marcelo Meyer or a Kyle Teal or even a Christian Campbell at the front with a supplemental piece of Wilyer Abreu. Recently, it's been, I don't think you're going to be able to get this deal done without three legit major league controllable major league talents. We're talking Abreu, Crawford, and Connor Wong to start this deal. And now it's, I don't know if you're going to be able to get this deal done without including a Tristan Casas in this deal. I have no idea where this deal is going to end up, but obviously it's going to take a pretty penny to get that done, and I think the Red Sox are going to at some point have to be okay with it. I just don't know if this is something they should be okay with at all. We talked about this the whole offseason. There needs to be some sort of ceiling that the Red Sox are uncomfortable going through with this Garrett Crochet stuff, where they could end up really, really overpaying for a guy who has had the injury history Crochet has and who only has 2 more years of control, with already a pretty firm standing that he's not going to go above and beyond in those 2 years unless he's extended out further than that. So it just really feels like we are just absolutely falling into this trap of this Garrett Crochet deal, and that really scares the hell out of me. I do think the Red Sox are going to be able to get something done here. I just have absolutely no idea what it's going to cost. I just hope it isn't this, but that's just my opinion. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about this deal? Would you do this if you were the Boston Red Sox? Is it absurd to you, or am I just making absolutely no sense right now? Let me know all your thoughts on this proposed Garrett Crochet trade in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just simply helps out a ton, and it's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Don't forget, if you want to listen instead of watch these episodes, all you got to do is head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Sea Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Seats.